Bring the coffee in turn. His voice cracked across the room like a command he was used to seeing obeyed. I carried the cup forward, my pace controlled, my grip steady. I placed it on the table exactly where he pointed, porcelain kissing wood without a sound. Then he flicked his wrist. Sit in the back. The gesture was casual, dismissive, the way one swats at something assumed insignificant. For a fraction of a second, muscle memory urged me to comply. Years of conditioning, of playing the role he had written for me, tugged at my spine. I ignored it. Instead, I turned and walked toward the podium. Sit down, he snapped louder now. I didn't look at him. I reached the microphone, adjusted it slightly, and felt the room tilt. I tapped once, the dull echo slicing through the air. I'd like to call this shareholder meeting to order. My voice was calm, unhurried, unmistakably final. Item 1. The removal of a board member who believes the majority shareholder is an intern. The room froze. Time seemed to stall between one breath and the next. Faces turned, eyes flicking between him and me, recalibrating everything they thought they understood. His mouth opened, then closed. Whatever speech he'd rehearsed evaporated under the weight of surprise. I watched the moment land, slow and devastating, like a storm you see from miles away, finally breaking overhead. I had imagined this instant 1,000 times, but living it felt quieter than expected. Clean, precise. I remembered when I first met him. He had been magnetic, the kind of man who filled a room without raising his voice. He spoke of vision, of legacy, of building something that would outlast us both. People leaned in when he talked. I did too. We worked late nights fueled by bad coffee and better ideas, mapping futures on whiteboards, convincing ourselves we were partners in something rare. I trusted him. More than that, I admired him. That admiration blinded me longer than I care to admit. The shift didn't announce itself with drama. It crept in softly. A missed call here. A meeting I wasn't copied on there. Information that once flowed freely began to arrive, filtered, delayed, diluted. He started explaining things I already knew, speaking over me in rooms where I had written half the strategy. I told myself it was stress, pressure, growth pains. It's amazing how much you can excuse when you want to believe in someone. Patterns, however, don't lie. His travel didn't match the reports. Emails disappeared from shared threads. Decisions were made before discussions were supposedly held. When I asked questions, his smile tightened. Just a fraction. He began to underestimate me openly, assuming silence meant ignorance. He never considered that I saw everything, that I listened more than I spoke, that I kept records. The proof arrived not with a bang, but in a neat digital trail. Messages, timelines, plans laid out with chilling clarity. He intended to sideline me, erase my authority, reduce me to a ceremonial presence while he claimed sole credit for what we had built together. Public humiliation dressed up as corporate restructuring. When I read it, the shock was sharp but brief. Heartbreak followed, then something colder. Focus. I didn't confront him. I didn't rage. I planned. Anger wastes energy. Precision multiplies it. I reviewed contracts line by line, cross-checked financials, traced obligations back to their roots. I learned who truly held leverage and who merely borrowed it from perception. Quietly, patiently, I spoke to the people who mattered, not with accusations, but with facts. Not with threats, but with clarity. Doors opened, doubts spread, support aligned. He remained careless, buoyed by arrogance. He liked being seen. I preferred being effective. While he underestimated the intern, I secured backing from shareholders whose names never appeared on press releases. I ensured every legal angle was airtight, every document unassailable. I watched his allies hesitate, then drift. Power doesn't disappear all at once. It leaks. Now, standing at the podium, I felt none of the nerves he expected. The room smelled of polished wood and restrained tension. He looked around, searching for reassurance, finding only calculation reflected back at him. I moved us to the vote. The motion was clear. The language was exact. Murmurs rippled like wind through tall grass. He tried to interrupt, to reclaim authority through volume and posture. But the room no longer responded to him. Pens moved, signatures appeared, decisions settled. With each passing second, realization dawned on his face. The structure he thought unshakable had been dismantled quietly, piece by piece, long before today. When the final count was announced, the silence that followed was absolute. No applause, no celebration, just consequence. I stepped away from the podium. My hands were steady, my breathing even. He sat slumped, the man who once commanded rooms now reduced to a cautionary example. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't insulted him. I let the system do what it was designed to do when truth is properly applied. Later, I walked through the office halls, fluorescent lights humming overhead. His absence was already palpable, like furniture removed from a familiar room. I paused by a window overlooking the city, lights blinking in indifferent patterns. There was no rush of triumph, no urge to gloat, just a deep, grounded satisfaction. I had been patient. I had been thorough. I had trusted myself. I finally picked up the coffee I'd set down earlier. It was cold now, bitter, entirely mine. I took a sip and smiled just slightly. No one would mistake me for an intern again, not because I demanded respect, but because I had claimed it. Power doesn't shout. It waits, it watches, and when the moment arrives, it speaks once. And that is enough.